Every wonderful, amazing person here has been through or is actively a student in the Creative Catalyst Academy, which is a 12-week program that I designed after teaching over 5,000 creatives and honestly my personal lived experience with mental health and disabilities and physical limitations, and of course working in a professional art career. This program has honestly changed the lives of many female creatives worldwide, from helping them overcome procrastination, finish projects, work on building or scaling their business, find their branding, and so much more. And I'm just so honored to have a small piece in their lives and be a part of their journey. And I'm so excited. Let me introduce to you who we have on the panel today. Monica is a passionate new mom, illustrator, graphic designer, and owner of Cherry Cupcakes, a sticker and stationery business. She strives to celebrate women and motherhood. Tiger is a visual artist and storyteller based in the Pacific Northwest. They create cute and whimsical artwork through comics, animations, and illustrations with a focus on character design. Beth is a digital artist, graphic designer, and owner of 7 Stars Design, who loves to celebrate others through stories, empowered vulnerability, kindness, and to ultimately create a space of belonging for all. Brie is a surface pattern designer who embraces the beauty of imperfections with authenticity and compassion through a minimal, chic aesthetic. She infuses every design with gratitude, crafting pieces that resonate with the soul and elevate the joy of home decor. Bridgette grew up in a mulberry tree on Story Street. She's tuning in from South Africa today. She paints pictures and makes objects obsessively. She also loves to encourage the creative energy out of people and watch them fulfill their potential. Jess is an outstanding hairstylist and salon owner who has revolutionized the hair and cosmetic space by mentoring and training apprentices, which is groundbreaking in the industry and in the United States. And with that, let's get started.
This is not everybody from the Academy group, but it is a good representation of us. Most of you are either still actively in the program or you're done. It's a really good mix and super exciting. I never dreamed everybody would get into the same space, even just for an hour or two. That's just a huge honor and so exciting. When I first started the program, I didn't even think I'd get one person interested in working with me, and to have everybody in the same room right now is very emotional. So I'm gonna try not to cry, but we'll see. I might have waterworks by the end. I make no promises. So I'm going to start with an opening question. It's super ambiguous and there's no right or wrong answer. You guys know I love some hard hitters. So sorry. So I want to know, what do you think are some of the most painful things an artist faces, and how do they overcome those things in your own experience and words? Anyone can go first. You can raise your hand. You can go off mute. Take your time. Tiger.
Yeah, I'd probably start. Self-rejection is probably one of the biggest obstacles I think artists experience. And how I have been navigating that is really sitting with myself and seeing the parts where I'm like, I am very scared of X thing or doing X thing, and kind of like digging into the root of it being that like, oh, I have these irrational fears of like, if someone doesn't like what I do, then all of my paints will be taken away from me, or I'll never paint again because I'll be too embarrassed. And I think the biggest thing is that like ultimately when you are someone who is translating and being self-expressive, there's inherent vulnerability, and learning to embrace yourself and not abandon yourself. And that looks so different for every person. That has been huge with me, just being like, I'm going to accept myself like kind of unconditionally at this point, where it's like, I've been very critical of myself in the past and I've seen how that works. And so now it's time to go into like my soft, tender era and embrace myself and my artwork.
I love that. We're moving into the soft hustle, soft businesswoman. I think that's definitely a theme. Anyone want to add to that?
No, I was just kind of add to like, because you said self like rejection. And yeah, I think that's a struggle. But when you're also vulnerable and want to put your art out there, and we're talking social media here, also another form that is not necessarily rejection, it's also like feeling like you're not being noticed. And because all of these social media platforms are now controlled by algorithms too. And so anybody who's, making anything, people will tell you, put it out there, put it on social media. But also putting it out there and being vulnerable and then not getting seen can also make you feel a little rejected in a sense, because you see all these other accounts who are getting like a lot of attention and engagement and you're not. And so it doesn't really like make you feel motivated to like keep putting stuff out there, because you think it's not being seen or noticed. I've honestly have been a victim of this, and I still haven't like really figure out a way to like, okay, I'm just gonna put it out there no matter what. Like I really like have not paid much attention to social media for a while, and especially because I'm like transitioning time too, because I feel like, well, some people follow me because I was making this type of art, and like I don't know if I start making something different, if that's gonna discourage them or push them away or something like that.
Brie, do you want to jump in?
I mean, essentially just piggybacking off both answers, self-sabotage definitely is something that has a way of creeping in from time to time, but how I've tried to get over is just trying to remember where it all started. Like I started doing this because it's a passion of mine, because I love it, and just holding on to that. And everybody has so many different talents and everyone's creative in their own way, and just trying to stay focused in that over like the bad, like, what are you doing? This is terrible. Like when that creeps in, just trying to push it out with knowing that the whole reason I'm doing this is because I love it.
So perhaps I can add to that in terms of self-forgiveness. So I work a lot with the self-rejection. I really understand where you're coming from with that. And it goes towards also, sorry guys, I'm going to get to know your names. But what one of you was saying about the rejection that comes from outside, and that's all the social media pile on, and it's huge. So what we do is we become kind of our own inner critic. We become one with our own inner critic, I think. And so I've been trying to practice self-forgiveness, and especially with the little child inside me. And I'm having the most amazing experiences just with that, just simply with that, before we even start creating anything.
I love you guys so much. You guys are such a great group. And you guys are so well spoken. Everybody was texting me how nervous they were. You know how many Voxers I got from all of you? Like, I don't know. And you guys are crushing it. I don't even want to hear it afterward. This better be a confidence booster. You guys can go on a TED stage in like a year, okay? Great responses. I love this because something that I've been working into teaching more, which you guys are going to see more of, I apologize, is called identity-based outcomes. And that's when we set goals as our kind of milestone path points, but we're actually working towards a certain identity that we want to achieve and experience. So a future version of ourselves. And that's actually a really powerful way to work through pain and continue pursuing entrepreneurship, which is excruciating at times, as you guys are well aware. So I definitely love that you guys are talking about the power of loving your passion and loving who you are and where you want to go. Definitely an identity-based outcome skill there, which is amazing. And I love that you guys brought that up. Does anybody else have anything to add with that particular question? Painful things an artist may experience and how to overcome them.
Yeah, I'm a hairdresser, so it's different.
Jess, it's the same, girl. I'm gonna fight you after this, but go ahead.
Yeah, but the first time somebody cried, after doing their hair is like the worst ever. But I think, what helps me is knowing that like the first time you do anything, you're not good at it. And you just have to practice anything. And what helps me is always looking at the outcome. So it's like, you look at like where you want to be, and then you're just like, okay, like, I know it's going to take practice and I'm going to get there. And then once you do it one time, you just keep reminding yourself of that situation of when you first cried, and then look at you now, so I always put myself back in that position, no matter what I'm trying to learn. And that always helps me too.
Because I feel like you have a great perspective, because uniquely your skill, your artist, I can't talk, guys. Your creative and artistic skill directly impacts somebody in a physical way. And I think that's really unique and rare. Like it's the most direct service oriented we can get as creatives. So do you have any advice for people who maybe are pursuing a service-based part of their business? Maybe they're going to get into coaching, or they're going to have commission work or freelance work where there's a tighter, kind of closer gap between you and the client. Do you have any thoughts or advice?
I think writing down everything that like didn't go well and being honest with yourself and taking feedback as really good criticism. Like, it's just feedback, and it's such a gift when somebody tells you something. And I used to cry, and I used to like just be so upset if somebody told me something that I needed to hear. But now if you just say like, oh my God, what a gift, because if somebody's telling you something, they actually care about you. And it's so true, because as a salon owner, I find myself like when I'm done with somebody, like an employee, let's say, I'm done and I just stop coaching them. And I know it about myself, and I'm like, ooh, that's bad, but when I care about somebody, I'm just like, but you could do this way and you could do this way and you could do this way, and then I realized that like feedback is such a gift. Just ask for it and like really like, hone in on it and really try to get better with every single, piece of feedback you could possibly get, because it's such a gift. Even if somebody has digital courage, that's what I call it, and they're telling you off, it's like, it's okay. It's just a gift. It's just a gift. Like if they didn't tell you, like maybe you would have never known.
Oh my gosh, digital courage. I am writing that down. I guess as a nice segue, actually, is my second question is, how has mental health or life changes impacted your storytelling, your business, your art, and what you create, what you do, what you craft? Anybody want to take a crack at that one?
I may or may not make it long without crying, but obviously my life story has greatly impacted what I do, because it's the 1,000% reason why I do what I do. Sorry, I don't know why today is so hard, but it is. But I have multiple autoimmune conditions, and it all came on about 3 years ago, and it just drastically changed everything. So I've always worked jobs that were very physically dependent. I was a esthetician, a massage therapist for 17 years, and then I managed a restaurant for 5 years. And I quickly realized I couldn't depend on my physical body anymore. And so I had always kind of liked graphic design, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to learn it. So I spent the past 12 months like obsessively learning it, because I'm an all or none kind of obsessive person. And it was like my therapy. It was my sanity. It was love. It's what I want to do.
Yeah, awesome.
So much of it. I tell Sarah all the time, if there's any way possible that I can turn this like tragedy and trauma and everything, and I had a lot of trauma before I got sick, but that's kind of the catalyst of it. But if there's any way possible that I can turn what I'm doing, something that I've found a passion for and love for, and help other people like this, it's literally like the most beautiful dream I could ever dream of. It doesn't even seem real. So that's I guess my answer to the question. My whole life has been changed by, the tragedy and trauma, but this finding design. And I was never an artist, creative. I was a math and science nerd. Like this is all so new to me, but I'm so excited about it. And it just fulfills me. So every time I get anxious, I'm like, I have to design something. Like I just go right into the art. And, Sarah and I talk about like, because I'm so new to this, like, I know that I don't have that like disgruntled artist, any of it, because it's all so like exciting to me, and I haven't been burned. But I also have been in self-forced isolation for 3 years due to my illness. I am been on chemo for 2 years, so I'm no immune system. So being and talking and interacting with the world is what I'm scared of.
It's a really big deal that you're here. Like I'm so proud. And if you guys knew how awesome this is, like I'm trying not to cry, because this is awesome. Like you're doing something really brave, and you've gone through emotional, physical, geographical, everything transformations due to these radical impacts and changes that were far out from your own doing, right? External life impacts. So really, really awesome. And Beth, your work's going to absolutely change lives. You're going to help a lot of people who are in the same space, but also people who have just experienced radical overnight change, which I can understand. My OCD, I can remember the moment it happened. I've had OCD my whole life, but my harm OCD is what debilitated me and led me to suicide. And that was when I was cutting a tomato on the kitchen counter with my dog, and I was at my parents' house, and I suddenly had a flare-up of harm OCD for the first time, didn't know what it was. And I felt my body and my mind physically click and change in that moment. And I was never the same person again. I lost a lot. And it literally took a 2-second thought to totally alter my whole existence and lose everything. So I I can totally get that. I think a lot of people here can appreciate that in their own walk, mental health and physical state. So I'm so happy you're here. And I'm excited for you to share, whatever you're able to throughout the next hour plus. So it's beautiful, and it's a beautiful answer. And Monica, I think you were hopping in, but mental health, life changes impacted your storytelling.
I think I really struggle. I've had my bouts of depression throughout my life, but I think after giving birth, I don't know if you guys have heard of postpartum depression. I spent about, I don't know, like 8 months in denial that I didn't want to say that I had postpartum depression, and they would give me the questionnaires because in a sense I thought of it that saying that I have postpartum depression was like saying, "Oh, I'm having depression because of my baby." And I didn't want to link that to my baby. I was like, I'm really happy about being a mom. I'm really happy about my baby. So why would I be depressed? And so I was not really like, like thinking in the science terms and all the hormonal changes, all the things that happen when you give birth. And so I was like in denial. And I think that really affected like a lot of my creative process too, because it was just difficult to like draw or do anything. And I just didn't want to like say that I had postpartum depression. So it took a long time to like come to terms with it and then try to like, manage it and, talk to family about it or even friends about it and just start, trying to find ways out to find basically like journaling, trying to see what's going on inside of me, how am I coping with all these changes, and asking for help and asking for a little bit of downtime here and there too, so I could like reconnect with myself because I was all about like motherhood, like, and I think I was also forgetting that I needed to take care of myself too and making sure I was eating a good diet, getting enough sunlight and quality time, like reconnecting with people that make me really happy. Like other creatives like you, like if we ever get to sit down, like I really crave time to like talk to like other people about like the things that we're passionate about. Usually that's like quality connection time. So I started trying to like find friends, form a community, and so that really helped out. But yeah, like depression has been a big thing for me.
Thank you for sharing. I've been so excited to watch your motherhood journey, though, from a creative perspective. The fact that we were able to start our relationship before you made that big decision and transition, and then after, has been so awesome to witness somebody in real time deciding actually what their priorities are and impacts with their creativity, and like how you've so gracefully just said, this is what I want to do. And it was so beautiful and so exciting. And I think it's rare to witness people's transformations because we only see the tip of the iceberg with people who are successful, whether they're in freelance or careers or businesses. We tend to only see the top, and there's so much underneath the surface. So to bear witness to people's big changes are amazing and awesome. So I'm really glad you talking about it because it's exciting. Does anybody else have any thoughts about life changes, mental health impacting storytelling / creativity or business before I move on?
My experience with my own mental health journey has been one where I think also experiencing like a bit of self-denial. It's actually one made creativity a really rewarding place for me to go to because of my own experience with just having difficult childhood experiences and then moving, like growing up into an adult who, like, I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. And I realized that for me, my mental health story and my life experience and how that has all come about has been a place of like deep vulnerability and shame and anxiety for me, where I know that it's a part of my story and a part of me that I want to love and heal and be able to champion. And right now, recognizing that I I have no idea how to talk about it. I have no idea how to even begin broaching it as a part of my art, because I know that, at being a creative means you are sensitive. You have a sensitivity, and it's not something that I want to continue being ashamed of. And I think being able to reveal our humanity is really important. So it's definitely, for me, as far as mental health impacting my artwork, my storytelling, my business, 100%, it absolutely does. And it is learning to interpret that creativity and my business and myself as like these living organisms that are interacting and evolving and changing. And for me, I'm in the process of going through that transition, that I'm not on the other side of it yet. And I've barely stepped through the door of being like, okay, cool. I do want to talk about these things. I do want to acknowledge these things. And we're finding our footing, getting there.
I love your story. I'm like the ultimate person with your social media. Every time Tiger posts within a 3-minute mark, I'm like, I gotta look at it, because you guys should check out her IG. She does great reels. She's practicing and already mastering. And I've been really excited to see everybody feeling more comfortable sharing their story, and really the power that it has, not just in our literal product or art, but also just as the face of our business and representing ourselves and giving us confidence. So it's just so exciting. It's so amazing. I love it. Anybody else have anything else to add before I segue us over to the next part?
I want to piggyback on what Tiger just said, because I was thinking about this last night, and the same thing. I'm in that process of the way I kind of speak of it is like the double life. It's the life of presenting yourself to be one thing, and then the life that you really have because of your limitations. And I was talking about it the other night, and I don't mean this, I hope it doesn't come off offensive, because it really don't, but I was like, I'm in the stage of trying to come out and be okay with who I am. But I'm 41. For 41 years, I've lived this life where I've presented this other person. So it just, as far as being seen, no one's seen me physically in 3 years. I've not been on social media. I've completely escaped from the whole world. And so there's so much that's I've got to come back out as this new person that not only looks different, but is different because of my limitations. And I want to be comfortable with that, and I want to be confident in that. But it's so easy to revert to that, it's just easier to pretend everything's okay. And again, I don't want to steal that term, but it very much felt like I'm in the process of trying to come out as who I really am. And that was kind of a light bulb moment for me. That's why it's, again, not the same, but it's very much a huge, to just be comfortable with the world that you have, the deck you were given. And even though it's not, and so I'm very much going through that process of trying to expose my, truth a little bit. And that's what I want. My whole brand, my whole everything is about, I want to present myself as that, but it's terrifying. And it is, very much it's a light. It's like one person dying and another one, being there. And like I said, that's why it's so terrifying for me, because I know no one's seen me, and they may, or most people don't care. I know that, but I'm not anything like the person I was 3 years ago because of mentally, physically, a lot of things. And it's I'm finally starting to be okay with that. But then it's shit, is the world going to be okay with it? And then it's then you got to go through it. So I think it's very much, that feeling of your whole life changing. But I can only imagine the freeing feeling of being on the other side. And so, sorry, I just wanted to kind of add that, because I had that little moment last night that that's why this is so hard. It's literally like having to come out to the world as who you are. And it's terrifying. So sorry, when that.
Firstly, I don't want to hear the word sorry. And
it's my favorite word.
Look, I've been reversing the sorry complex. As a woman, I find I say sorry every other sentence. So I'm trying to shut that down. Don't apologize for speaking up and adding to a really great conversation. And thank you for sharing that. Actually, you gave me the most perfect segue I could have asked for. My next question was going to be, what advice do we have for people to work within their limitations? And I know it's a tough question, but if you guys have worked with me for, again, 5 minutes, you've heard me speech about limitations. So just curious what your own thoughts are on that.
I can say one thing just because I need to take my own advice, and that is lean into support and lean into others in the same situation. It's something I've been reluctant to do. And it was why I was so excited about today. I was yay. And then again, my brain got invited, and that wasn't fun. But I I know that like it is crucial for me to interact and meet people that are like me, because I have done most of my suffering, alone, because I didn't want anybody to know. And I know there's so many people that have so many similar stories. And every time I interact with someone like that, it's such a beautiful experience. And I like in one of my goals with Sarah, I changed my goals like to like really immerse myself in a community or network, because I know that how vital and crucial it can be for me to get through this.
Yeah, support for getting through limitations, for learning how to live within limitations. Bridgette, I know you were ready for this one. We talk about this all the time. I'm super excited. And I think you're actually on mute, so
Forgive me. Yeah, I think that's fine.
all
Can you
good.
hear me? Yeah. Since I learned to work within my limitations, a whole lot of stuff opened up for me. So I didn't even realize I had limitations. And that was half the struggle. And then realizing that those limitations are actually okay, and detaching the shame from your limitations, that was a huge thing for me. And then realizing that other people, even people who aren't traumatized or don't have the same kind of combination of things that any of us would have, also have limitations. And so we all actually could benefit from sort of an analysis of what our resources are and our limitations are. And it really changed my life. So I believe everybody should go for that and accept it as something that's quite normal, rather than something that's slightly tinged with shame, which is where I came from in the beginning when I started looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. I love it. It was a pleasure to work with that with you. That was amazing. And you're just thriving and you're doing amazing things. It's so wonderful. Anybody have anything to add about limitations, working within your limitations?
If I may add, with the limitations and the shame that you get sometimes when you're not able to accomplish something, you have like your ideas, right? I think we could relate of having like a million ideas in your head, but not really seeing them come from start to finish in not even one. Like you want to do so much, but then you don't finish not even a single thing. I think I had like a lot of shame around that, and I'm like, why am I not? Is it because I'm lazy? Is it because I'm procrastinating? And I was just blaming myself. And yeah, I was not even thinking that the person I was before and the time I had before motherhood, it's completely different. Like my life is completely different. So I'm like judging myself based on like that old person I used to be and not who I am now. And I was not taking into consideration that I have a lot of limitations on time and energy, brain power. Like there's just a lot of limitations. And once I was able to identify them, I realized that I was actually, like the days that I'm doing something, I'm already like excelling in a sense, because I'm doing quite a bit with how little I got of time now. Sometimes I've even managed to do more than I did when I was like a person who didn't have a single responsibility in the world. And so, yeah, knowing your limitations can actually make you see like have an objective view of, like how much you got to work with and what you're doing with that. And I mean, it opens doors because now you can plan accordingly, and you can you have a strategy, if you will, right? You can have a strategy, but if you don't know what limitations you got, then you're just like shooting in the dark, like aimlessly, and feeling bad because you don't know where things went wrong. And then if you don't know anything else, then you blame yourself. So that's very like mind blowing to know your limitations and to know how to like strategize or plan around them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Actually, another great segue. You guys just making this easy for me. Forget moderating. I don't even need to be here. What advice would you give to someone who has lost or felt lost in their craft? Maybe they're overwhelmed with doubt or disbelief of their abilities. Really common thing I've been seeing with creative-minded people or entrepreneurs is when they hit a season of major transformation or a big altering situation or changing courses or limitations, oftentimes people put their craft down. They stop creating, they stop designing, they stop pursuing their business. What advice would you give to someone who's just totally plagued by disbelief, who doesn't feel like they can go forward? Maybe they're just drowning in doubt. Any thoughts with that?
I actually have something there. I think that to get back into the mind of the observer, if they can start to watch themselves in any way, that is the start or the first step to help come back into your body and be participating in your life completely. So that's my 2 cents as a start.
Love it. Short and sweet, but impactful. That's so powerful. Anybody else have any thoughts as well to piggyback?
I'll say one quick thing. I think perspective is huge. Like today, I woke up and an eye disease was really swollen, wasn't excited about it, hurt really bad, knew I had to be on camera. And it was like, I might as well just give up design and end my life now. Like it just ends up there, and it's like, okay. And it's hard to get that perspective of like, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be okay. It is, and that's what I'm working on, is not seeing every limitation or every roadblock as like detrimental and the end all be all, that like, it's okay, it's fine. And like, sorry, my husband's drinking me a glass of milk, but I started working, trying to get started, like getting launched this week. And literally 2 days in, I got the flu. And it's like, oh my God, I should just give up. I shouldn't even try, because I'm just going to get sick all the time. And so it's just so hard to keep perspective. And like every situation, or, when we have so many limitations, I know everybody has things, but something I struggle with autoimmune diseases, every day I wake up, it's a crapshoot. I don't know what's going to hurt, when it's going to hurt. It's always something random, weird. And if I do get emotional upset, I know I'm going to I know I'm going to pay for this later. I'm going to have blisters all over my skin within 24 hours because of this. And so it's always that thought of like, should I even keep trying? And so I'm really trying to just keep that perspective that like these moments are not everything, that there's a bigger picture, and that it's hard to look at that bigger picture when it's just hard.
That's it. That bigger picture, the mind of the observer, kind of the bigger picture. You're absolutely right. I understand.
I think I could add.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So I changed careers, right? And I can like really relate to in this conversation, like, the big changes. And yeah, I started like going for medical field, and everybody was like, go be a nurse, you gotta be a nurse. And well, I could see myself there. It was like not really my passion. And so if someone were like doubting themselves and like feeling like they can't create anymore because they don't know where to go, I would say, don't pigeonhole yourself. I think we're all ever changing. I think that that's the one constant in life. Like we're always changing, and there's new people coming into your life, and there's people going out of your life. So there's like so many things. Your environments are changing, and so we are a result of that, like the combination of people and environments and thoughts and things that we're exposed to. So I realized that, yeah, that environment and all of that will make you a different person. And so your ambitions, your passions will change. So I would say tune in to yourself, right? Tune into what matters to you now. Because that's been big for me, like sitting down and thinking, oh, well, I don't care about, like, for example, I don't care about video games that much anymore because I don't have that much time to enjoy them. I still like them, but that used to be my life at some point, like just video games all day. And so it was like such a big thing. So I wanted to make art that looked like video game art, right? Like concept art and all that. But now when I sit down, like, I realize that now I care so much about my son and motherhood and, advocating for infants and for children, treat them with respect. Like there's like all these new things that are huge in my heart. Like they're like, I feel so strongly about them. And so that's why at the beginning with Sarah, we were like, I was telling her, oh, I want to do this and that and that, because that's like the script I've been telling myself. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But what I want to do does not longer align with like my values and all of that. So yeah, like don't pigeonhole yourself. Listen to what your heart really cares about, and then then that will give you some guidance or some direction of where to go next. I think like that will really bring clarity. At least it has for me.
And piggybacking off of what Monica was talking about is that for the self-doubt and somebody who really lives with it, I would say that the marker of my creative journey has been self-doubt. That's frustration and self-doubt have been like the emotional signatures of that. And it is about like being incredibly gentle with myself and recognizing, gaining perspective, recognizing that self-doubt is and can be a gift of quality control, and that it's just gone into overdrive, and that it's like my way of protecting myself by doubting everything I do, because I'm trying to protect myself from like the emotion of the experience. And one thing that I was recognizing was the dreams that I had of being an artist and the timeline and where my skills were going to be at and what I was going to be doing. I made all of that stuff up as a child, like as a teenager, and I had no idea what life was going to be like. And I had no idea how that would actually play out. And holding myself to these standards and these expectations that really no longer apply or never really even existed. And with what Monica was saying about that, the constant of change, and that I'm changing and what I need changes and what I want to do and changes. But that if you're having self-doubt, but you have that desire to create or to do something new, that desire is for you. And you wouldn't have that desire to create if it wasn't something that you were meant to follow. And I think it's alongside with that accepting of your limitations. For me, I actually am going to go back and redo that exercise, because I am constantly failing to meet my expectations because I don't acknowledge I have limitations. And so I'm setting myself up for failure. I'm setting myself up for disappointment because I don't see myself as a person with limited capabilities, or even just recognizing like, I actually don't want to sit in front of a 30-foot canvas for 40 hours. That's actually not something that brings me joy. And I think just with the self-doubt, bringing that self-compassion, and then recognizing, well, how have I changed, and how can my aspirations also change? That redefining success that Sarah brings up a lot is so important. It's so important, and it can keep changing. And I think being flexible, and knowing that your self-doubt is there to protect you, but it's not always right. I've known for a fact that like it's way too strong and too powerful, and I think it's failing and floundering, because in my life, like I can't make progress anymore with the self-doubt. And I think it's that releasing and that surrendering to it that has been helping me.
I'm definitely trying to be kinder to myself, because I'm the type of person where if I'm not doing something every single minute, I'm like, oh my God, I'm wasting time, or I should be working, or I should, like, God forbid, like I take a break, so and if it were a friend, I would give them I know I speak to them with compassion, and I'd say, take care of yourself. Like, you are doing everything you want, like, take it easy. So I'm trying to channel that and do that for me as well, and not abandon myself, which I do all the time, and focus on sleeping better. And just like, I can't even imagine sleep. I was talking to someone and they were like, yeah, I slept until noon. I'm like, I don't even know how to do it. Like, there's no, I would have so much anxiety. I don't think I can physically do that, but I have a lot of really, really late nights where I probably should sleep until noon because I went to bed at 4 because I've been up working on something, but I physically can't. So I'm just practicing. I'm really trying to take the steps to be kinder to myself and give myself a break.
Oh, so good, guys. I see everyone's facial expressions because I see stuff coming up like that person thought they were the only one who had this problem. It's all happening. We're realizing that we're actually all quite similar. Something to think about when you are stressed about the timeline, releasing the timeline, really, really debilitating sometimes. I still struggle with it. Some of you guys have heard my vents about me mid-launch right now, and my timeline got moved like 3, 4, 5 weeks out. And sometimes it feels like we're in crisis, right? You maybe need financial gain, or you need to escape from a situation, or you need to make a big change, but it means your business has to be more successful. I think a lot of us can relate to that handicap feeling. So the timeline pressure can really get added. And something I've had to learn is if I feel that type of pressure and anxiety, it means I'm not trusting myself and I'm not trusting the process. If my process is strong, my identity-based outcome is really clear, my steps are there, that is all I need. And time actually isn't as big of an asset as I once thought. The asset of time comes through being really strategic, not by me like rushing, because oftentimes the rushing is when we start damaging ourselves, right? We take less care of ourselves. We have to set boundaries. Like, I need 8 hours of sleep or my OCD flares up. Like, high heaven. Some of you guys might have saw me boxing at 10 p.m., which I never do. You know what happened the next morning? I was walking on my treadmill and I had a full OCD attack that I haven't had in 2 years because I didn't sleep. And I tested the boundary and I went, oh my gosh, this is why I put these safeguards in place. Your limitations are your superpower. Every single person on this planet, I don't care if you're Jeff Bezos or you're like an Olympic athlete, they have limitations. And the people that actually are successful and happy, which to me is actually the measure of success, are the people that work within their limitations. So you guys are all crushing it, and there's always going to be refinement that happens. I'm refining constantly. I mean, look, I just tested my own boundary for fun and it literally got me nowhere. So I think we're all in the same boat there and can appreciate that, which again, beautiful segue, guys, just making my life easy. My next question was to take care of ourselves and our business and our creativity. What boundaries have you had to recently set in your life? I'm not even going to go into what boundaries because I want you guys to think of your own because there's many types of boundaries, but if anybody wants to go.
Real fast because it piggybacks on the sleep thing. So I laughed when you brought up sleep because I literally have a sleep contract hanging on my wall that I made with Sarah because I have a tendency not to sleep due to my anxiety. I have this fear that like if I go to sleep, A, my body's going to just destroy me while I'm sleeping because it's happened. And B, that like I have too much work to do. And like I said, I spent the past year learning graphic design. I literally didn't sleep the whole year. I was so determined and obsessed. Like, you have to learn this skill. Your life is over. I was dependent on my mom financially. It was toxic. I was like, in that survival mode. So I literally thought if I went to sleep, you're failing. So I convinced myself that I didn't need to sleep, which with a lot of autoimmune diseases is not really great. So Sarah learned that I like a little bit of a challenge. So I literally made a contract. And it's so funny because you said you tested yourself. I had a lot of anxiety last night when she asked me, how are you feeling now that you started sleeping? Because I haven't slept in forever. And I was like, I'm not as emotional. And I'm noticing I didn't sleep as much last night because I was anxious about this and holy emotions all day. So I'm kind of going through the same thing of like, okay, maybe Sarah's right. And I do actually need this sleep because although I thought I was functioning fine, apparently when I don't have sleep, I'm even more emotional and, and so it's just kind of piggybacking, but I can send everybody my sleep contract if you want to get 30 good days of sleep.
But so pretty. I mean, I want one. I don't think I need one, but I might be relapsing over here.
Yeah.
Are you good? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just having a moment. He goes, but it's 10 p.m. Like, you're usually in bed playing Animal Crossing right now, and I'm usually braiding your hair by now. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying this out. The lies we tell ourselves, guys. The lies we tell ourselves for time. It's always the thing we want more of and the thing we want back. And usually the way we can actually do that is not by not sleeping. It's by being more efficient and setting boundaries. So anybody else have new boundaries?
I gave myself work hours and I gave myself like a work week. I actually there's this company that I follow and they were like, oh, hey, we're hiring. And I read I'm not qualified, but I read their thing, what they gave their employees. And I was like, oh, I need to be a good boss to myself. There are so many shitty bosses and I don't want to continue that with myself. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have like my start hours and my end hours. I am a night owl. So that's like a limitation and a boundary that I'm aware of. I'm like, okay, I like working at night and I stay up late and I sleep in. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to start work at 11 and go till 6 p.m. And during the week, I have like Monday to Thursday, and that's when I work. And then I have like a 3-day weekend. If I want to do work on my weekend, which I often do, if I want to, I keep track of how long I worked. And then I'm like, okay, I gave myself a day to take off during the week because I was working. And I think honestly, like reframing our limitations and boundaries as, these are coming from a place of love and like self-love to take better care of ourselves. Me finding more space. Like the other day, I was feeling anxious. And I was like, I'm gonna take a nap. I can't force anything because I will make garbage. Like I will end up stressing myself out more. And I guess it's like just recognizing with a boundary, it's like, what is the cost of not having this boundary in my life? And is it the benefit and the worth that I get back of like actually doing this thing in the long term will save me more time and money and just like brains.
Yes, I love it. Increasing our quality, increasing our sanity, our self-care by boundaries. If anyone has anything to add, please add it. But my question that popped in my mind is, why do we feel like boundaries are so hard to set? Because I don't know about you guys, but I had to practice boundary setting over the course of a long time. And obviously, as you just heard me say, I'm still sometimes testing them. I like to give them a little push just to make sure they're there. And I'm just curious, whether from a business perspective or just an emotional human perspective, like anybody else have thoughts on boundaries and also maybe why they're so hard to set or maintain? Because, oh my gosh.
I have some thoughts on that. Well, this could be more speaking to those who are like interdependent with someone or have kids, because when you set a boundary, sometimes that boundary is not like up to you completely. Like it's a boundary that has someone else. Wait, can you still hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So that boundary has to be honored also by some other person. And I think that's very difficult because that person has a brain of their own, they have their own needs and wants and everything. So sometimes it's a work in progress. Even if you set the boundary, there will be regression. Even if you try to uphold your end, the other person might not. And sometimes things might get a little like gray, like the line is not so like visible anymore, and you have to remind a person, remind yourself. And so it's a constant push and pull. That's what I learned, because like I love that sleep contract that was brought up, because I think I'm about to make like a little contract like with my husband, because I've seen how like for a couple weeks I get like these blocks, like chunks of time. But depending how my son's sleeping, sometimes he's not sleeping good through the night, I get really broken sleep. And sometimes I stay up until like 11 or even one time until 5 a.m. because he was not going to sleep. So I've seen like my chunks of time getting reduced and reduced, more reduced. And so today, this morning, it was like to have the talk of saying like, yeah, we need to have boundaries when it's my downtime, because if I'm staying at home, like I don't have like clocking in and clocking out hours. Sometimes my days are 12 hours, sometimes they're like 14. And then the next day, there's not a specified like downtime for me. So I told him we need to make a schedule. We need to make a schedule where we know like, okay, this is when you take over and this is when I get my downtime. And yeah, it's a ongoing work in progress. But I think everybody should feel like they are worthy of these boundaries that they need, to set, and that they have to feel empowered and feel like you have a right to have other people like honor those boundaries. And even if you have to have a million conversations, just don't give up, because if you need that time, whether it's like your sleep, or in my case, I need like the downtime to be able to like concentrate on my project and just like not be completely immersing, like taking care of my baby. I just need a couple of hours, and that really works like wonders for myself. So yeah, don't give up on letting your boundaries be honored, and don't be discouraged if it doesn't stick like very quickly. It might take a while for everybody to adapt.
That's such a big point. I love that. Bridgette, do you want to tag on?
Yeah, I come from a kind of a people pleasing mindset, and what it did was it made me the perfect first assistant director. So I was the one who stood next to the director who said jump, and I didn't even ask how high. I got like 10 people to jump different heights and said, which would you like? So I came from this like world where there were no boundaries. And what, you have boundaries for yourself? I mean, I didn't think about my gender. I didn't think about being hungry. I suppressed. Afterwards, it took me years to get the hunger feeling back again because I suppressed that thought. So I would never ever feel hungry or thirsty or consider my own needs. And it took me a lot of years to get rid of that, or to actually even realize that it was there. It was much faster to get rid of it once you realize it's there. But I think for me, the term that defines it is people pleasing. That's the place that I went. That was my mistake. And so if you're having trouble, my suggestion is, if you're having trouble setting boundaries, look at where you're trying to please somebody instead of yourself, instead of really take care of yourself.
So good. I could not agree with that more. I think a lot of us are in different seasons of life, maybe different types of relationships, whether they're friends, family, children, parents, spouses, partners. And that stands true, I think, for everybody here. I can definitely attest to that. It took me a lot to gain the trust in myself to stand behind my aspirations in business, that it wasn't just a little hobby, that it wasn't just a little business for fun, to go to my spouse and say, I need these financial investments. How can we make that happen together? I need you to do blank and blank for me because I can't run my art director job that's sometimes 12, 14 hours a day and do this. How can we contribute for the same goal? And I think having a conversation where you're working and talking as teammates, regardless of who it is, whether it's your immediate family or friends or partners, is one of the most crucial transformations you can make as an entrepreneur. And then also leveraging the people around you for accountability. Like, I totally resonate with the power of creating a schedule / a day off. For me, it's Sundays. That was really hard to do. I had to untangle years of hustle culture within me. And that hustle culture is what led me to my OCD crash and then my suicide attempt. And I still didn't learn. So even if you think you've hit your low, sometimes the low is not enough. You actually still need somebody else there to say, no, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to set some boundaries for you. So also don't be afraid to ask people to help you with your boundaries, if not to honor them, but also to enforce them, which sounds a little counterintuitive, I know, in our world of like empowerment, but it's a big deal. So I don't know if anyone else has anything to tack on, add to that part of the convo.
I just wanted to say one thing back to, what she was saying about people pleasing. In the same sense, I think I'm a percent of people pleaser. As soon as I heard that word, it resonated. It's like my whole life. I'm a middle child, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing this since existence. I have no idea. Like I told Sarah, I don't even know what I want. I trying to even think of what I want is so uncomfortable because I have no idea. And it's not only that, but then I found that I am someone who needs validation to prove that everything I'm doing or feeling is real. And that's what I'm trying to get away from. And I think is so big with boundaries, because it's like I think for people like us, it's almost, even with my illness, it's like I'll show people, see this. And if they don't say, yes, it's bad, then it's like, it's not real. And that is pleasing. It's like, I can't even decide for my own self that my pain is real because someone else has to validate that for me. And so very much, getting out of that people pleasing state and setting those boundaries, but, advocating for yourself and not, just doing it to get validation is huge and something I'm working through for sure. But people pleasing I'm trying to break that really terrible habit, because you realize how much it just is entangled every aspect of your life. And, I even down to, I don't think I've ever chosen a restaurant to go to with my family, because my older sister and younger brother, she's bossy, he's this, they always won. And I learned immediately, it doesn't matter. I don't want to fight it out. I don't care. So I took this whole I don't care mentality. And then I do, like I say, I always say I don't care, but of course we care, but I literally have no idea how to even think for myself. So that is definitely something I would love to get to the point where I'm confident enough to advocate for myself. And that's what the sleep contract was. It's like my first step of like, I'm going to, stand my ground and make it known that I'm going to get more sleep, because I need to do that to start my business so that I can not be financially dependent on my extremely toxic family. Like, that's the goal. And so not seeking validation and being able to just be okay with what you need. So sorry, I just want to add that in, and I didn't mean to say sorry.
Good, we're learning. Amazing answer.
We need a buzz button. I wrote down, I've got to make a graphic. This is no more sorry. I've got to do something with that.
I just wanted to add, I think one of the reasons why boundaries is so hard to make and maintain, from my experience, is we didn't have any boundaries growing up. And I spent, I'm 24, I'm going to be turning 25, but definitely up until I was 18, but even up until I was 20, with one of my parents, I didn't have any boundaries. And all of my control for my life felt like how I could benefit other people and how I could benefit, just to, like, I don't know, worried that I couldn't handle conflict or anything like that. And I think it's become so much more important to learn to trust myself, acknowledge myself, and knowing that, like, there isn't anything wrong with the fact that I, at this moment in time, am not the best at setting boundaries or maintaining them, because I've never learned. And so if I'm learning now, I have to, like, acknowledge, I'm like, okay, I'm like a level 0, I'm a baby, I'm a kid again. And so I need to give myself as much grace as I would someone who has never interacted with boundaries before. And just a point about the external validation is, I think that external validation, especially with someone who, for myself, has a lot of self-doubt and really, like, is extremely self-critical, is that having external validation from the right people, the people that I trust and I know that care about me, that's extremely beneficial. And I think it's like, I have this, like, little paper, and it's basically like, it has, like, in my head, but, like, the names of the people that I trust who care about me and who I know their care for me and their vision for me aligns with my vision for me. That's the people whose opinions and validation matter and are beneficial. And so that's kind of like another boundary, I guess, that I have for myself. And I think it's really about, like, taking those little steps and seeing your own person, and knowing that it's not weak or bad, or that you should be better at this or these things, when you really have no experience to go off of. You don't have any healthy examples. It's just recognizing, like, all the understanding that I need to give it to myself first. I can't keep searching too far outside of myself, where I feel, like, extremely lost. And I think just acknowledging ourselves, and acknowledging, like, oh, wow, life thus far hasn't given me the tools that I needed. So just knowing that, like, okay, I can search for those tools myself. Things are different. I'm in charge of my own life in these ways. And I think growing in that self-trust is crucial.
I love it. I love that we're touching on a form of self-care and self-agency, is to recognize what we have still to learn, but also to have grace in understanding why we haven't learned it yet. And especially in the world of comparison, where we're constantly shrouded with technology and examples of other people's top of the icebergs, if you will, thinking that they've learned so much more than us, so much faster, when it's really just not the case. And I love that tool. I think that's a really great visual of what it means to go inward. It's to recognize what we still want to grow, what we still want to invest in, which is why advocating for ourselves, our business, setting those boundaries is powerful, because it gives you space to make the investments you need, the ones that matter, not the ones that don't, so you can get to the goals that you have. So exciting. I love it. And kind of like a mild segue is, obviously we've all lightly shared that we have some form of a condition, whether physical, mental, or just a limitation that we're really experiencing. Within the creative and entrepreneurial space, what perception would you like to change about, say, a mental condition, a life experience that you have or have experienced? Are there any perceptions, stereotypes that you would like to be an advocate for, or whether that's through your art or your business or just yourself? Anyone have any thoughts there? It's a big one.
That the truly insane man is the one who thinks he can change the weather and buying really expensive property on the seafront, and then calling me crazy because I make funny lines. So there's a big thing for me about where true madness lies. And I wear the a moniker or a label of crazy or mad or anything like that. I wear it proudly, because I think that the person who thinks that he has this world in control is the true crazy one. And for the rest of us, we just don't know. And it kind of opens up a whole lot of permission if I remind myself constantly that we're on a rock hurtling through space and we don't have the answers, and that the rules, we kind of made them to try and keep ourselves alive, but they don't have to count for every second of the day, and we can change them to support ourselves. So yeah, that's what I kind of go on.
I would like to add that there is not really a set timeline. Everybody is on different time. We're all running on different times. And I struggle in the beginning thinking, oh, I want to do this sticker business because I decided to do stickers and greeting cards. And I had given myself a timeline. And then because I thought, like, let me see what other people are doing and go to YouTube. And then you see people sharing their timeline. And then you think to yourself, whoa, they did all this and it took them this long. And then you think that maybe you're going to take the same time, and then by the time that you arrive at that deadline, you realize you have like less than half of the work, or you haven't figured out a lot of things. You're still having a lot of doubts. And yeah, I think your timeline is your timeline, and it's not going to be the same one for anybody else because of your limitations. Here we go, circling back. Like, we all have our own limitations, and we only have so much, time and energy, and we can't spread ourselves too thin that we are going to collapse. So yeah, just, I think that's a myth that, like, a business will be built in a certain time frame. You really could take, I guess, a year. You could take like even 6 years, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's going to be your baby, and it's going to be so worth it, and it's going to be like something to show for all the work you've put in, and it's going to be amazing.
Piggyback on that, because I was thinking the same thing, and then of course I was doubting myself, like, is that pertain to the question? But I think one of my biggest fears with what I'm doing is I'm terrified of what, and this may not be a perception, it might just be an insecurity, but I'm terrified that of what people's perception of me will be because of my inconsistency due to my health. Like, if I, am sick for a couple days, or, it doesn't mean I'm any less of an artist or talent. It's just that I have no control over my body sometimes. And I'm terrified that, like, there's a lot of moments where I'm like, should I even do this? Like, 2 days in, I got the flu and I'm out for a week. Like, is this what it's going to be like? Am I constantly going to be sick? And are people going to think I'm not good or not worth it because I have to take more personal time, or I have to do things differently? So again, it might not be a perception, but it's, kind of like asking people for a little more grace and understanding that, like, just because I do things differently, I mean, I might have to work overnight. You'll see my sleep contract. It doesn't have hours. It's just the amount of time, because sometimes it's necessary for me to stay up all night and work because I have anxiety, and I have a hard time. This is nuts, but I have a hard time working sometimes with my husband and dog in the house because I just inherently worry about what they're doing. So I work better when they're asleep, and there's nothing, and I can just work all night, and it's dumb, but it's like not gets my focus. So if that's what I need, I can do it. And I'm worried, like, what if I work nights and not available at 8 o'clock in the morning? Will people think I'm not a good designer? So it's that whole perception of, like, I might have to do things differently because of my limitations, and what, or is that going to devalue my work ethic? Because it's not. That's what I worry about.
I think something that I'd want to advocate for in the entrepreneurial and creative space is, like, for me, the whole point of doing this job and working for myself is to build a career and a process that works for me. And that in the entrepreneurial space and in the creative space, doing it and building it for you, and that it can be customized and it can change. Something that, like, you had said was that Beth had said was this idea of, like, well, what if I, like, work at night, or I have these strange hours? And it's like, there are people out there who also want to work at night and want to interact with people at night, and people who are also, business owners, and people who have creative projects who need your graphic design, who are also experiencing life changes or their own disabilities that require them to also need breaks. And I think advocating for normalizing, like, oh yeah, we're all very different. We all have very different schedules and we all approach things differently. And so what is consistent for you, I guess, like, I would really like less rigidity and less, like, more embracing of, like, the non-conformity of how we go about our lives, because the 9 to 5 doesn't work for everybody, and not everybody has the stamina to concentrate for that long of time. And so something that I want to advocate, like, in my artwork is just, like, learning to live your life the way that you want to live it. And obviously that comes from a privileged place because not everyone can, but in the ways that I can, I think it is my responsibility to, since I am in this place where I can decide when I want to work, to take full advantage of that and show people that this is something that is available. And that's the end of my thought.
I love it. I think we're in an exciting space in a post-COVID world where now we're engaging and working with people worldwide, as we're even experiencing on this call. We're all in different time zones, by the way, right now, most of us. And I think the exciting part about that is time zones give us an example of how the ways of working have changed. And that means that you do have more power than you've ever had to demand certain timelines and demand for grace and expectations. And I want you guys all to leave with self-agency, that your true priorities, which is most likely, I hope, your family, your health, is the top priority, and therefore your clients, your business should be falling around that, and those are set in stone first, and then everything else fills in the gaps, not the other way around. I think we grew up in a culture where we were taught that career is identity, but I hate that. As someone who used to identify with awards and job titles, and I thought that was my value, I definitely learned that I need to reverse that mentality. It's actually the other way around. It's what I do because of the career that I built that gives me the flexibility. That is where I find and pursue life, joy, and value. Really easy to lose that in creativity, right? Because I think we're in one of the very few spaces in the human experience where the creativity and life experience and joy overlap so closely. There's such a thin gap between the two. So it's an art form in and of itself to create these boundaries, but also self-advocate. And I'm glad that everybody on this call, actually, have you guys noticed it's a Friday? It's a classic 9 to 5 work day. And what's up? Oh my gosh, we're like all here. Interesting. Most likely because you may have prioritized this, which I appreciate deeply. However, also because all of us actually are weirdly in a transformation right now where we are kind of our own bosses. I mean, hello. Some maybe not fully. I'm not fully yet. Hate to admit it, but I'm not. I do want to ask ambiguously, is there anything that we're leaving out here that needs to be addressed or said or spoken about? Whether it's a question I didn't ask, something that percolated in your brain while we were talking. Just want to give you guys an opportunity if there's anything else comes to mind.
I noticed a bit of a theme of feeling insecure about our stories and feeling insecure about, like, our limitations, or insecure about our own insecurities. But I want to share that all of you sharing what you have and meeting you today, I think I was very excited to meet everyone. And I'm even more excited now that I know you better. Like, it's even more exciting, and I hope that gives you the courage to learn how to share yourself and, like, be intimate. Because, like, for me, I think I'm like, these people are wonderful, impressive, incredible, and I hope that it gives you more confidence to share in the future.
I so agree with that. I so look forward to getting to know each of you better.
Yeah, you're all doing amazing things that I honestly consider like awesome things that I would like to like look into, like just like hearing what everyone's doing. Like it really made me feel like, oh, wow, like I can relate. Like, so surface pattern design, I think it's so cool. There's stickers, there's painting. I definitely will look forward to interacting more, like in the platform too, in the new platform that Sarah is creating for us. And yeah, this is so amazing that we've all been able to connect through, Sarah's content. And I can see already, like when everybody speaks, like the impact that the Creative Catalyst Academy has had on everybody, because as people are talking about the struggles, they're also talking about, but I am overcoming this with that. So I realized that everybody's already kind of like figuring it out, like, cracking the code of how to get around like our limitations and our challenges, our self-doubts and all of that. So really excited to meet you all.
Nice to meet everybody. The reason why I've just been quiet is I'm downstairs and there's construction going on. So every time I talk, it couldn't happen because it's so loud. So that's the reason why I've been silent. But it's so nice to finally meet everybody. And I'm so fortunate to meet Beth. I'm so excited that you're going to be working on some content for me. So I already shared something that you made and I love it so much. So I love to see all you guys' creativity. I love it, love it, love it.
I want to just add, obviously, I'm getting emotional now because everybody's being nice, but I just doing what I'm doing with Sarah was like necessary for me to live. And all of this is so scary because I have just, and it's not just about what I look like, but just every single thing about me has changed so drastically and I just don't get it. I can't catch up. So it's so scary. And like before I met Sarah, I was like a closet graphic designer. I didn't go to school. I taught myself this for a year in my guest bedroom. Like I didn't. And so Sarah was like, "You're a graphic designer." I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm just someone trying to be." And like, so even here 6 weeks later to say I'm a graphic designer and I have my first client, like I'm trying. And it's so amazing and so gratifying, but it's so scary. But it's like to see that light at the end of the tunnel that's not been there for a long time is really cool. And it gets brighter and brighter with the community and people like you and hearing other people that have gotten through it and gone through it. And then I'm sure you all get that feeling of like, oh my God, like you feel so alone because how can anybody live like this? How can you function when all these things? And so it's not only really powerful to meet other people that have gone through it and be inspired by it, but just for someone like me that is so freaking terrified of the world. Like I don't leave my something in the grocery store. Like I'm literally terrified of people. Like it took me so long just to communicate with Sarah because I'm scared to talk. I've had all my teeth removed from like a mouth disease, like just so much stuff. But this is so powerful. And I'm so excited and literally feel like you all in this program and Sarah, it can be life-changing for me and I need it. And I need to lean into the community and get support because it's crucial and I'm excited and definitely I'm going to be reaching out to everybody because it's dire necessity for my survival, I feel like, and it's just a beautiful place to be and I'm very grateful.
Not me over here, literally so hard not to cry. I worked so hard on my eyeshadow today. Thank you for each of you for reaching out. You guys were all in different seasons. I think the majority of you guys came from Skillshare and you saw my random rogue Skillshare email of like, hey, random person here looking to work with other random people. And that's so amazing in and of itself because I don't get the data from Skillshare. So I'm just sending to like a random email list that has a high probability of hitting spam. So the fact that each and every one of you not only saw that, but then reached out back to me and then stuck through the program. I mean, oh my gosh, y'all gave 12 weeks of your life to me. Like, are you sure? Is the reason we're all here, whether you're still working through it or you're graduated, it really means the world. And my life has changed for the better because of every person here. You guys gave me the confidence to be a coach and to pursue this career that I didn't think I was worthy of pursuing or good enough. I had the same doubts that you had. And I did it against a lot of odds and a lot of people telling me I was wasting my time. So the next time someone ever questions you or you're questioning yourself if you're wasting your time, I want you to remember this moment because everyone's here because of time and investment dedication to themselves. And this is literally just the beginning. It is going to get so much bigger than this. It's just going to have a snowball effect, and reaching out and making those connections independently is huge. And I highly encourage you to do it. Whether it's setting up something reoccurring. I've been on all y'all about reoccurring sessions. It works with accountability too, by the way. So having someone maybe you can check in with once a month or twice a month or whatever works for you. Picking a person in this group to do that, a small group or whatever you want. And then if you guys want anything further from this, like another full group meetup, in a span of time from now, like happy to put that together. And we all have boss babe schedules here with like, yeah, I could do this on a Friday. So I'm so proud and excited. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys so much. And you guys are part of my world and really the people that I've learned to be friends with. And I love you guys and I'm so proud of you. And it's definitely lifelong relationships. So I'm super, super happy. And yeah, that's all I got. It's my outline. So any last like thoughts or questions? Let me have it.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Sarah, because this all started building a business, but I think this is more about building lives because the business is something that we are creating, but we cannot create that without having a look into our lives. And if all the other pieces are not working, like they're not functional, if these pieces are not functional, they're not going to be able to like produce. And I think your holistic approach, I would say it's even better than therapy in a lot of ways because you can go sit down and talk to someone and then they'll maybe give you like a worksheet or something, but it ends at that and then you come back and you give the worksheet, but with you you've been so flexible and you've been caring for the whole human being. Like that's how I feel, like someone is like holding my hand through like the tough times. And I think that that is priceless, that my whole life it's improving and changing, my relationships, my everything that's happening around me. I have like this awareness. I have tools that are like very timeless because like if we do the limitations exercise like 6 months ago, I think Tiger was saying like I'm going to go redo this worksheet about limitations because things have changed. And so that workbook, you can go and redo it over and over again and you might get like slight different answers because it really helps you like evaluate, assess, and then like plan accordingly. And I think like my life is like really, really transforming, and my marriage is transforming. My relationship with my son, it's all like I have more like direction and clarity. So I do want to say thank you for for creating this space. I've never felt more seen than I do now. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm fighting over here. Thank you so much. Wow, that really means the world. It really means more than I can express right now. I don't have enough words, but yeah, oh no, I'm trying. I don't know where I would be without you guys, but to know that the work is doing positive things and creating transformations there's really nothing like witnessing that and being allowed to be in someone's life so intimately. You guys have all given me that privilege to know and hear about your children, your daughters, your spouses. I mean, it's so vulnerable, and because of that vulnerability, I can improve and be a part of your story. And that's like, I can't really think of a bigger honor than having vulnerability with another human being. So, thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, Sarah. I love that she just said that's a holistic, that you're a holistic approach and better than therapy. That's exactly what I said to you, but she just said it in better words. Like I was trying to say to you, like, that's exactly like the truth, Sarah. I said to you, I've been in therapy my entire life. Like, and there is nobody like you. That's exactly, she just said it perfectly, like a holistic approach and better than therapy. I love, love, love that. And it's so awesome that you got everybody together and you could just totally tell how much you care about everybody. And that's so amazing. And the transformations you're making in everybody's lives. I love it.
All right.
So thank
I'm gonna
you.
I want to add to the emotion a little bit. All I want to say, I'll be quick. When I saw the thing from Sarah, I wanted to email her. I literally remember it so clearly. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I was sitting there in the bed on my computer, like freaking out, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to turn this into business? How am I going to be seen in public? Like, how am I going to do anything? And I took her Skillshare class on like productivity because I was like, I got to figure something out. And it was like this huge decision that I was like, I just have to hit send. Like, it was like part of something stronger than me, something the universe was telling me, you have to hit send. And like when we connected, it was just, I'm a big energy person. It was this energetic thing where I was like, this is my person. This is a sister. This is someone that is meant to be in my life. And I struggle with feeling like I'm worthy to be cared for, or I'm, worthy of love. And so one of the biggest things Sarah's done, and my husband will say this all day, is like the support that she has given me and encouragement to be is so priceless and valuable. So it is, like I said, it's life changing, but I am incredibly thankful that I hit send that night, because it will and has changed my life in a drastic way. I know that. And it's ironic. My best friend, my entire life's name was Sarah Edwards. So when I saw it, I was like, what? And it's just been this, like you said, it's different than therapy, because there's so much power in someone having the experience or a similar experience to what you have. That I've been in therapy my whole life too. And I've never had a therapist that said, I've been through that, or I used to cut myself, or I had a suicide attempt. Like, those things are so powerful, because you can say you understand, but until you've been there holding that knife, you don't understand. I mean, everyone has their pain. I'm not saying that, but it's like, there's so much power in sharing your vulnerabilities to heal others. And that's what I strive for. And the fact that you do it and do it so beautifully and do it so well, and I'm forever grateful. And I am just, it's so amazing and so beautiful. I talk about it all the time, because it doesn't seem real. It really doesn't seem real that someone just popped into my life that has the same values, the same desires, and wants to help someone that's as broken and damaged and struggles as much as I have. That someone out there still thinks I'm worth it and wants to. It's been cool. So I'm forever grateful.
Oh my gosh, I literally have nothing to add. I'm just trying to hold it together. Thank you guys so much. It's beyond kind, and I appreciate everything you guys are saying. I don't have any good words right now. I'm just emotional and overwhelmed in the best way. So thank you so much. Wow. Oh man, so much has happened in the last 2 hours. I feel different. Anybody else? Anybody else feel hot or changed?
You know how they say this conversation altered my brain chemistry? I feel like that. It really
different.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you feel lighter and more seen and heard in this space, as well as empowered that really anything is possible. I'm Sarah Edwards. I help female creative entrepreneurs struggling with mental health and disabilities defeat procrastination, complete projects, meet their goals, scale their dreams, realize their branding, and all that good stuff. I am the founder of the Creative Catalyst Academy, and if you're interested in becoming a student with us, we are accepting new students at this time. And to do that, you just have to schedule a free 45-minute strategy session with me, and we'll see if you're a really good fit for the program. The link to book is in the description. We're also launching the Creative Clarity Club, which I am so excited about. It is a membership platform tailored to creative females like us, entrepreneurs, or those just looking to flourish creativity, with masterclasses and content and a community to come together, a support group, as well as upcoming live events. And it's just going to be beautiful and so exciting. So I hope you're considering joining and getting plugged in as one of our founding members, which this is really exciting because you can help us shape the community and really get on the ground floor. So if you're also interested in that, there is a link in the description. I can't wait to meet you, get to know you. Please reach out if you have any questions or need support. And I am just so honored that you watched this video today and got to meet some of the amazing women that have also changed my life as I have theirs. Thank you so much.